So I was standing here in my kitchen cooking dinner, and I'm getting ready tonight to go to the LA County Democratic Club meeting. And as I'm getting ready, I'm thinking about, how do we take back Congress, and how do we win the White House? And as I thought about it, it hit me like, I think there are a lot of people in this country who want to vote Democrat. I think there are a lot of independents in this country who want to vote Democrat, and people who are inclined to vote Democrat and maybe even registered to vote Democrat but never do because they may feel like they never have a reason to come out, right? So no matter what happens, nothing ever changes. And so I started thinking about the whole issue with DACA. And that's one of those issues where you can pinpoint where Democrats lose votes nationwide. Whether they be in congressional districts, Senate districts, presidential elections. In those cases, that's one you can pinpoint of how you lose voters. Democrats came out, Schumer, Pelosi, talking a big game, right? We're going to stand up for Dreamers. We're going to make sure that we give Dreamers a chance. Sorry for the bad camera angles. Like I said, I'm trying to cook dinner before I leave to LA. But, Democrats are talked a big game about how we're going to protect our Dreamers. Literally, Trump chose to shut down the government rather than negotiate with Democrats on the Dreamer issue. And literally, the shutdown lasted a weekend before Democrats caved. And I say that's a good reason or good example of why people don't vote for us outside of California, New York, and larger states. And it's because we're not principled. We're not principled. It literally took a day to see the Democrats cave. And they caved because they were afraid. They caved because they felt like if we push this too far, we're going to lose the rural white voter. We're going to lose the Pennsylvania white voter and the Wisconsin white voter and everybody else in between. And the reality is first of all, you done lost them already. So let's come to terms with that. The second part is there are a lot of other voters out there. There's still the 25% of white voters that support Democrat issues. And there's voters of color that support a lot of our ideas, but don't support the party. And so we could inspire those people to come out in large numbers and vote if we were principled, right? If you're going to stand up and say you're going to fight for DACA recipients or people who are eligible for DACA or immigrants as a whole, then do it. Go for it wholeheartedly. Stop operating in this realm of fear or we're afraid to be uncalculated. Part of the appeal of Donald Trump to people, besides appealing to a large portion of this country's racist history and tendencies, he sounded and came off like as if he wasn't calculated, and he talked about a lot of the things that Democrats should be talking about that we don't. He talked about, buying American, saving American jobs, forcing companies to stay here. And of course, that's not really what's going to happen, right? He's going to give corporations tax cuts and tax incentives and all the same bull crap that the Bush administration and Reagan offered companies and Bill Clinton offered companies, and they just ended up leaving anyway. But we should be having conversations about how do we keep America made? How do we shut down free trade that hurts American companies and hurts American workers? He's having that conversation. He's not going to do it, but he's having it convincingly enough, right? He's convincing enough people. But at least he sounds principled. And I think if the Democrats ever want to win Congress back strongly and keep it, they got to stop not only trying to sound like they're talking the talk, but they could walk the walk. They could go above whatever Donald Trump does by simply following through. And so that means fully supporting immigrants and cutting out this binary of good immigrant versus bad immigrant, DACA versus non-DACA. And just put out there that, look, we support immigrants coming to this country. We support immigrants who are hardworking. We support immigrants that are running away from fear of political attacks from wherever country they come from. And go at it. Let people know what you're about. You know, you can't say I'm for Main Street and for the working class, and then when it comes down to it, you're standing with Wall Street. You can't say that we're for American jobs when it comes down to it, given to outsourcing companies out. And so let's just be principled. What are we about? Are we about unionization? Are we about workers, right? American workers? Are we about standing with the working class? Like, if that's what we're about, then let's do it. And you're going to lose people. You're going to lose some people, and you're going to bring back some people. Because believe it or not, there are people in this country who don't vote Democrat, not because they don't believe in the things we say we're about, but because they don't believe that we will follow through with the things we say we're about. And so I think the next step to take as Democrats is to be about it, right? Don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. If you're going to be for the worker, be for the worker. If you're going to be for the little guy, be for the little guy, right? But you can't serve two gods, okay? And the reality is we shouldn't be asking for perfection either, right? I don't expect members to run for Congress or our state assemblies and state senates and not take corporate money, because right now that's what you got to do to be competitive. But we should be making a valid effort to get big money out of politics and have government-funded elections. Let's be about it, you know. Put your money where your mouth is. And I think voters, Democratic-leaning voters, voters who agree with our issues, independents, like I said, agree with a lot that we want to do, but they don't vote for Democrats because they don't think Democrats have the guts to follow through with it. So I think we could take the opportunity now and think about who we are and simply follow through. Give the voters something to come out for, right? There may be people out there who are like, I like the Democrats, what they say they stand for. I don't like what they actually do. But if I can get someone out there who's going to speak my language and do what they're going to do, I may actually go out and vote, right? Voters expect Republicans to go back on their word. Voters at some point expect Republicans not to be able to follow through. And they hold Democrats to a higher standard. And again, we fail, right? So let's stand up and let's be principled. Let's have the guts, right, to do what we say we actually are going to do and stand up for the people we say we're actually going to stand up for, you know? And we got to just have the ovaries to do it. And I say ovaries, I think ovaries are a lot tougher and can take a lot more than testicles. So I'm not going to use the old misogynistic term. But I really think that that's where we stand as a party. People want someone who has guts. People want someone who's principled. People want someone who's, when they tell you they're going to fight for good wages, they're going to fight for good wages. When we tell people we're going to fight for tax cuts for the poor and working class, we're going to fight for tax cuts in the poor and the working class, right? But we can't be serving two gods. And I think there are a lot of voters out there that'll come out of the word work and vote as soon as they can see a party that's principled and actually standing up. And they may not agree with us 100%, right? They may not agree on everything that we stand for, but we may put enough of the walk with the talk that they may be willing to come out anyway and vote for the things that they do believe in. A lot to consider.